Hello, this is episode 91 of Rabbit Hole, and in this episode we're going to be talking about strange magnetic effects.
Whoa.
Yeah. So keep listening or watching.
Welcome to our new episode, and today we're talking about the Schumann Resonances. Very interesting, but if you are listening to us on our podcast, audio-only podcast, give a try and see our faces, see how we are, and help us just giving a like.
It's not good.
Yeah. If you're already also in YouTube, just give us a like, subscribe, share it, and all that stuff.
And you can find us on YouTube at Rabbit Hole Origins. Just search for that and you'll see our episodes.
So, Schumann Resonances.
Yeah, cool.
Out there.
Okay, hello and welcome to this episode of Rabbit Hole. Today we're going to talk about Schumann Resonances.
I wonder how many of our listeners or viewers have heard before the term.
Yeah, I don't know whether I have or I haven't. You?
I have heard it before.
Right.
Yeah, several times.
In relation to what? Okay.
In relation
moving
of
swiftly.
Some conspiracy stuff, some more alien-related stuff.
Right. Another episode.
In general, yes, it's another episode.
Another episode. Okay, so what are Schumann resonances? They are basically electromagnetic waves at certain frequencies that kind of travel around the globe, and they're generated by thunderstorms and lightning, basically. So basically the lightning, obviously the discharge generates a huge magnetic field. These get kind of trapped within the Earth's magnetic field, presumably.
Yeah.
And they start to form resonant waves around the Earth.
Yes, and those resonances, let's say, can range from 7.83 hertz to what is called the Earth's heartbeat, which is
33.8, right?
33.8 hertz.
But why is it called the heartbeat? Why? Is it going it going on and off, or is it just at that frequency
Well, because
we don't know, do we?
No, actually. I was about to say, then I remember that, there's not...
Yeah, well, I would have thought if you were going to have a heartbeat, it would be the 7.8, the lower one.
Yeah, exactly.
But whatever. Right? Maybe the 33 is more constant.
Or that,
Maybe it's there all the time, and the lower ones come and go. I don't know. Anyway, so there's a range.
Yes, right? It's a big range where it goes.
And the resonances, they're a bit cultish, aren't they? They're a bit out there, a bit woo-woo.
Well, the reason for that is because it has been studied not only for these Schumann resonances, with resonances in general, and especially, for example, music. Some people has, before this, talked about music, if it's at 44 hertz, if it's at, whatever, 128 hertz.
Well, there's also an interesting parallel with the brain waves that we develop, like alpha, beta, they're all in this kind of range of
lower,
40, from about 7 hertz up to about 45, I think it is. So we've got nothing here particularly about that, but there is something maybe there as well.
Yes, and basically the big hype about the Schumann resonances is because some people believe that would affect human behavior.
Yeah.
And everything started actually around the 50s when they started to.
And I think it was a military thing at the time, actually, because I think, is this not part of this secret thing that was going on? I'm trying to remember the name of it now. It had one of those jazzy names, something like Umbrella or something.
DARPA, the one that
DARPA
is with the
was
weather.
the organisation, but it was where they were firing microwaves up into the upper atmosphere to resonate a magnetic field, to use it as allegedly as a global low bit rate communication system. And it was abandoned allegedly. Yeah, we all know what that means. And I wonder whether Schumann resonance detection of and
because of this
came
experiment
around about at the same time, but we don't know. But so basically, it's the ionosphere captures these electromagnetic waves issued by storms.
Storms, and the interesting point is that 2,000 thunderstorms or so hit the planet
every moment of the day.
Yes. So that's impressive, right?
We've all seen some of that video from the International Space Station where you can see bloody lightning
flashes everywhere,
all over the place, right?
Yeah,
it's just constant. We sit here and go, we haven't had a storm for 3 months,
or we say like, oh, what a nice weather.
Yeah, it's all these storms.
It's everywhere.
So the interesting thing about so these resonances, where do they come from? So obviously you've got these random, allegedly, you have to say that, lightning strikes, 2,000 at any moment. But obviously, well, not obviously, but what happens is that through various mechanisms, they begin to resonate into crests and troughs. And this is where these resonances emerge from. This kind of, it seems random,
exactly.
But under the randomity it emerges a kind of order. And these are the Schumann resonances.
Yes. And we have now, for example, on screen an image of how a capture of those resonances look like.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what some people have used as well for these more conspiracy things about how this behavior affects humans, and some people claiming this is affecting our history, our timeline changes.
Yeah, and in fact, in 2006 there was a study. Now I'm always a bit skeptical of these things, where it says the study found that. Yeah, I'd like to read it.
Okay.
But found that the frequencies, the Schumann frequencies, were related to different kinds of brainwaves, which we were just talking about, right?
Yeah.
And they are in the same range. And I don't know whether you know this, but there's a phenomena in brain function called entrainment. It's called.
Yes.
And entrainment is where there's some evidence for it, but not total evidence. But there's some evidence, because we were talking about these binaural beats the other day.
Oh, yes.
Similar thing, right? Where an external source of beat or signal, rhythm, if the brain in some way or another, through one of its sensory organs, can pick up the wave, it will start to try and sync with it. Which is where this binaural beats thing comes in.
Yes.
But obviously you can see what they're getting at with this, can't you? Because it's a bit like, I have this is, to me, kind of has a loose relationship with how people think astrology might work. I don't believe in astrology, but our bodies are mostly water, right? And one of the theories about how astrology works is that the complex gravitational fields that are interacting with the planets moving around and blah, 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 that they're causing disturbances in the liquid of your body, and somehow this is picked up by something, your brain, whatever. Yeah. Well, and this is meant to be the same thing.
Yeah, in fact, researchers have described this like a real-time, coherence between the variations in this, like between the Schumann and the brain activity.
Yeah.
Between 6 and 16 hertz band. So somehow the Schumann resonance could sync somehow with some brain activity.
Yeah, but you got to think, so how is that happening?
But also how much of that actually affects behavior or decisions or
this is the
your
problem.
Everyday life, right?
I mean, what in a 2016 paper from a laboratory in Canada, and they're very trustworthy, Canadians. I mean, come on. Anyway, they discovered that 238 measurements from 184 individuals over a 3.5-year period demonstrated unexpected similarities in the spectral patterns and strengths of electromagnetic fields generated by the human brain and the Earth's ionospheric cavity. Now, I don't often say the word cavity without supporting evidence, but I think what they're referring to is the region of the ionosphere where these waves are traveling, where they're resonating around the globe.
Yeah.
And what they're saying is that they, again, I'm not sure this is, it's not proof, is it? It's conjecture in a way, right?
I think, yes. You would need to have really more serious, a lot of studies to actually prove any behavior being affected by this.
Yeah, because if it was true,
yes,
then it would remove, shall we say, some element of free will.
True.
For example,
yeah,
wouldn't it?
For sure.
Right?
Yeah,
because if your thoughts can be influenced by these resonances, then, well, who knows what are your correct thoughts and what are not your correct thoughts, or what are your unmodified thoughts, or so.
Yeah. Well, we're not experts into these Schumann resonances. I have seen other people really talking a lot about them.
Yes.
But if you know more, and you would like to share exactly, more about it, it will be interesting to talk to you and to, let's say, discuss more about on the topic.
I mean, if we just think about it for a minute, if you think about MRI scanners, now, an MRI scanner has superconducting magnets around it, producing electromagnetic fields of frightening strength, right?
Yes.
To the point where you can't have any metal objects on you. The operators have to be behind a protection thing like 5 meters away. They can't be in the room when it's operating. That field is intense, right?
Yes.
But people don't get slotted into an MRI scanner and come out thinking strange thoughts, do they? Allegedly.
Not that I know. Not that I know.
Well, all I'm getting at is...
But I understand what you're trying to say. Yes.
There is an example of a very, very, very strong magnetic field that people are exposed to.
But maybe that's exactly the point. This one is so strong.
No, it's not. It's super weak, isn't it?
The MRI one.
Oh, the MRI is super
That's
strong.
what I'm saying.
All right.
Maybe it's super strong that your body cannot really resonate to that.
So
in the hertz levels that something like the Schumann resonance can make you resonate.
So are you what you're suggesting there is that, okay, MRI scanner super strong, blah blah blah, but it's operating in the, like a radio, it's tuned to the wrong band.
Yes,
maybe.
That could be.
Right.
That could be, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. I think we're learning.
Yes.
Aren't we?
If you have more information about it, it will be interesting if you share it.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about this idea of how astrology might work with?
Not only astrology.
Do you see the association?
As
with
I
this?
said, I have seen some posts and articles about people saying that we're almost like if we would be in the Matrix. The Schumann resonances changes and shows edits, basically, theoretically. That's what they say. Like, I don't know, if we see the image of the resonances,
it's
those white lines and big lines that you see there are events that transform and
peaks and troughs of the
yes,
resonance,
and affects
right?
our living in the world. So,
but I'm assuming that there's lots of curious people out there, and I'm sure somebody must have looked for patterns in this and not found any.
Yeah,
right?
no, there's like images that are almost the same. For example, they call them like angel wings or something like that.
Oh yeah, I think we saw
because
that,
they look those white areas like if they would be like a set of wings,
right?
And those could repeat, sometimes very strong, sometimes in a smaller region portion of the image
Spectrum,
or the spectrum. So according to people that I saw, it means stronger edits and changes in what they call the timeline, right? Now, obviously they cannot probably prove, at least that we know, if it's true this. Is there a way we can disprove it?
Trying to prove a negative's quite a...
yeah. It's hard, right?
It's impossible.
It's hard to disprove it.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting if they can prove it, for example.
I think that's what the internet's for.
Or not. Yeah.
So what are our conclusions in terms of, do you believe that maybe, put aside the weird stuff,
I do believe that these resonances and resonating with our body, with the electromagnetic frequency generated, it's possible. That affects really our behavior. I don't know. Maybe when we feel like, today I've been having a headache from in the morning to the afternoon. I don't know why.
Could be a Schumann headache.
Could be because, actually, a Schumann headache. That's a possibility.
First. Yeah. And I think there is something at least interesting in the correlation between Schumann resonances and human brain operational waves, the alphas,
exactly.
the betas, the gammas. Maybe there is some connection, but who knows? Right?
Maybe it's just like a stimulus that sometimes happens.
Tips you over.
Tips in your brain. And
well,
that's
we've
not necessarily affecting your thoughts or putting thoughts in you, but stimulating it.
Well, we've talked before about it's now becoming, and we're going to do another episode on this in the future, about how quantum physics may have more to do with biological functions than was previously thought.
Yeah.
And that, for example, birds being able to find specific directions and the way photosynthesis actually works in a leaf, it's now recognized that those actually depend on quantum physics phenomena of superpositioning and blah, blah, blah. And particularly the bird compass thing, it's now known that it has a quantum process that's going on in a small area of its brain where a fundamental particle is held in a state, and it's purely the Earth's magnetic field actually affects which way the particle tips, one way or the other. So that is a super weak connection, but it's actually affecting how birds find direction. And we're talking about another episode coming up where it's thought that maybe quantum effects are actually occurring in the brain, and that consciousness may be related to this effect. So if you talk about kind of weak magnetic fields affecting what are real world processes through quantum effects, maybe there is something.
Maybe. And we even talked a bit about this topic of music and their frequencies before. We had guest Daniel Patrick Cohen, and we were discussing that same episode. So you would like to hear that episode, go back into our audio podcast and search for it. Yeah. Where he was a guest.
He was.
So, what do you think about the topic?
Yeah.
Is it interesting? Do you know more about it?
Yeah. Yeah. And any thoughts on could it really affect human behavior?
This was our episode of the Schumann Resonances.
Yeah.
An interesting one.
Yeah. One of those things that's rooted in real physical phenomena, but of course has been picked up and run with by various sorts.
Yes. And don't forget to like, subscribe, all that jumbo mumbo that everybody will say, to help us grow the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
If you are listening to us in audio,
some people say we have a face for radio, but we're not convinced.
Who knows? So, my name is Rafael Ruiz.
I'm Carl Baldwin.
In the next episode of Rabbit Hole, we discuss something else.
Cool.